The National Executive Committee of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, has announced its campaign team as it gears up for the upcoming general elections in December this year. At its emergency meeting held at the Alisa Hotel on Monday, February 19, 2024, the flag bearer of the party, Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, presented his proposed campaign team, which was subsequently approved by the National Council of the party. Dr. Bawumia will serve as the overall chairman of the National Campaign Coordinating Committee. The former Minister for Decentralization and Rural Development and one-time General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Honorable Dan Kweku Boche, has been appointed as the campaign strategist and the campaign team's chairman for the MPP for the task ahead. Mr. Frederick Opariansa has also been named as the campaign manager. Also included at the helm of affairs are President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, former President John Agyapong Kwadwo, former National Chairman Freddie Blay, former campaign manager Peter McMenu, all members of the National Council of Elders, Elizabeth Ohene, Reverend Joyce Ayi, and Akosua Frima Osei Opare, the current Chief of Staff at the Presidency. These were disclosed by the General Secretary of the NPP, Justin Kodia Frimpong, at a press briefing in Accra after the crucial National Executive Committee meeting.
For the 2024 MPP campaign, both presidential and parliamentary, the chairman for the campaign is the flag bearer himself, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. The vice chairman for the campaign or the coordinating committee will be the vice presidential candidate, which we are yet to select. So the flag bearer is the chairman for the campaign, the chairman for the campaign, the whole campaign. So every committee will report to the flag bearer. Then we will have the national chairman, the former President J. Kwadwo, President Nana Akufo-Addo, chairman and members of the National Council of Elders, former national chairman Mr. Freddie Blay, Madam Elizabeth Ohene, Reverend Joyce Ayi, and Madam Akosua Frima Osei Opare as campaign or as members of the campaign advisory committee. The General Secretary of the party will be in charge of the campaign operations. And the ranks of the party, the volunteer groups, the identifiable groups, the persons with disability desk will all be under operations to be headed by the General Secretary and deputized by the National Organizer, Henry Nana Wachi. The campaign strategist and campaign chairman, there's a difference between the flag bearer position. Flag bearer is the overall chairman for the campaign coordinating committee. But the campaign chairman and strategist will be Honorable Dambuchi, former General Secretary and MP for Okre. The campaign, we have two campaign vice chairpersons, Mr. Fred Owari and Nana Akumia, as the two campaign vice chairpersons. We have Honorable Frederick Opariansa as the campaign manager for the 2024 elections, and he will have 3 deputies. For deputy campaign manager in charge of research and administration is Dr. Antoinette Thibault Dapon. Deputy campaign manager for parliamentary campaign will be Honorable Obi Amwa, MP for Agyapong South. The deputy campaign manager in charge of presidential campaign will be Dr. Ibrahim Anyas. For Electoral Affairs Committee, it will be headed by Chairman Peter McMahon as the chairman for the Electoral Affairs Committee of Campaign 2024. We have national executives, we have regional chairpersons, all being part of the campaign coordinating committee. For senior aides, those who will be moving with the flag bearer and providing various help and assistance will be Engineer Kwadwo Agyapong, former presidential aspirant in our party, presidential prime minister, former general secretary of our party. Mr. John Kwadwo, Dr. Susanna Alu, Mr. Salifu Said, Mr. Samuel Ku, Mr. Anthony Kabo, Dr. Kencity Media, and Ni Ejesua, the team that will be moving with the flag bearer and providing assistance to him. For identifiable groups, the coordinator will be Honorable Joseph Kwadwo as coordinator for identifiable groups. For coastal campaign, the coordinator will be Madam Mavis Hawa Kumsin. For Middle Belt campaign, we have Honorable Dr. Ayub Afriye. Then for the Northern Zone campaign, we have Honorable Dominic Nitu as coordinator.
Justin Kodua Frimpong further named Dr. Gideon Boakon as a spokesperson for the presidential candidate, with Dennis Miracles Abuaje appointed the Director of Communications, and emphasized that all officers of the party are members of the campaign team.
The spokesperson for the flag bearer will be Dr. Gideon Boakon. For Director of Campaign Communications, we have Dennis Miracles Abuaje as Director of Campaign Communication, Mr. Adumako Berfi and Akbar Kumeni as the deputies. For Social Media Coordinator, we have Krobia Asante. For Research, we have Dr. Isaac Ousu-Mensah. For Finance and Fundraising, we have Dr. Alolo Utaka. And for Legal Matters, we have Honorable Frank Davis. Then Diplomatic Liaison will be headed by His Excellency Adrian Kwati. So in a nutshell, this will be the campaign coordinating committee structure for the new Patriotic Party 2024 elections.
On some outstanding parliamentary issues, the General Secretary of the NPP outlined some measures directed by the National Executive Committee of the party on the way forward.
The other issue that was discussed at NEC and subsequently at National Council has to do with outstanding constituencies that are yet to hold their parliamentary primaries, i.e. Elembele, Agyapong South, Aguna West, and Sunan East. With respect to Elembele, the party has taken certain decisions, and unfortunately I cannot communicate it now because certain steps have to be taken before we can hold primaries at those constituencies. For Agyapong South, National Executive Committee, the body clothed with the power to govern parliamentary primaries in our party, has cleared the municipal chief executive to contest in the Agyapong South primaries. So he has been added to the list of contestants for the Agyapong South primaries. For Aguna West, the matter is before court, and we leave it for the court to determine the matter before we can take the necessary steps. For Sunan East, as you are aware, vetting has been done. For Sunyani East, nomination has been opened and closed, and left with vetting. And once the vetting is done, the elections will come on for Sunyani East. On Yendi, the National Executive Committee took a decision and has given the matter to a 3-member committee to communicate the decision of the National Executive Committee to all interested parties. And once they communicate the matter to them, and whatever decision that has been taken will further be communicated to our friends from the media. But we feel that we need to speak to the parties first before we come out with the decision of the National Executive Committee. Then again, the National Executive Committee also took the opportunity to reiterate that per our rules and regulations, we said that in constituencies where we don't have certain members of parliament, in the rules and regulations, officers were to recuse themselves from their various positions. And after the elections, they will assume their positions. That rule still stands. But in constituencies where certain members of parliament were contested, officers were supposed to have resigned before contesting. But where in constituencies the certain member or certain members of parliament did not contest, then the rules of the orphan constituency were applied to officers who contested. So it means that they recused themselves but did not resign. So in such a case, now that we are done with the primaries, those officers can go back and take their positions. So basically, this is what happened today at NEC and National Council. Thank you very much.
The government has adjusted the salaries of public sector workers by 23%. This follows the conclusion of negotiations on the 2024 base pay. Payment of the 23% adjustment took effect from January 1st this year. The Controller and Accountant General, Mr. Kencity Media, has confirmed these to the media. He said approval had already been given by the government for the payment of the 23% adjustment. Mr. Kencity Media indicated that the government had been very committed to the emoluments of public sector workers and that salaries had been paid not only in the right amount but on dates published for the payment of salaries. The Controller and Accountant General's Department at the beginning of every year publishes the dates of payments for salaries of public sector workers. Mr. Kencity Media said the government is very committed to upholding workers' interests and has never faltered in paying salaries even when the COVID-19 pandemic struck in 2020. Mr. Kencity Media said the government had done its bit and that it was expected public sector workers would work hard to help stabilize the economy. Some members of organized labor have confirmed the payment of the 23% increase in base pay by the government. The Teachers and Education Workers Union, TEWU, confirmed the payment of the base pay. The General Secretary of the union, Mr. Mark Denchira Kranche, who confirmed this to the media, said his outfit had so far not received any complaint whatsoever from its rank and file regarding the payment. The government last year increased the base pay on the single spine salary structure by 30% across the board. The 30% is the biggest increment organized labor has secured out of negotiations with the government since 2010, when the government increased the base pay by 20% and by the same margin in 2011. The 30% increment of the base pay last year also brought an end to the cost of living allowance of 15%, which the government paid public sector workers between July and December last year. Mourners, sympathizers and well-wishers from all walks of life continue to eulogize the memory, personality and professionalism of the late Mr. Martin Kwadwo, popularly known as Wafa KK, the former director of radio at Oman FM, a subsidiary of Kencity Media Limited. The latest of the grieving visitors to throng the premises of Kencity Media, located at Madina Zongo Junction, to express their sympathies to the media group and his family, were the executives of the Ghana Journalists Association, led by its chairman, Mr. Albert Kwabena.
On behalf of the Ghana Journalists Association, Batankua, a share in Central Jumedi, so. One when Najuma for going in a Kayaho, I say. Na of a Kwabena, no Kayaho, but no penny away in town. Me Cassa Meka, Wakwaka Chuma, the best sign. And a Mumbia me to Biano, so beyond from the crowd of Wakachi friend me. Na the ono nya adwen obeka na kan obefa so kraka no ukra wumfo president na ade mu hwehwe mu ye de ade we de akabo ye ni se ya because say ye attack ye nua samtire ni bi enche bia emra ye ba foforo na any issue statement that am cry call retreat issue statement na de chinye na of a firm president, statement they have part. Marisha was a quano, Yeniana attacking, was in the line of duty. And now say, now Okudini Jume be. So, offer. The attacking Centrania, usually whether in the line of duty or not. Once I went Centrania in the day, the attacking the day. Yet they say a condemn. A police phone a bit to me, I show man who say in the line of duty. Na in the land of the but condemnation dey I say condemn nti e kan say me no ya adwen na so yen krofo no ye djuma ye di no bebre no ye private way offer you bia waboa gg waboa ye kan bebre so even as a board member of GMPC the guy say na e ho den say e benya sponsorship. The friend of us said, President, don't worry. So on that media can serve committee. No. Your budget, you need budget. The so remember say. To the Jamame, and pass of a say, obey yes, Ibenya, do so. It done the award that Akoye save you Ghana, Rebecca Sanke, chocolate day. As we are seeing Wednesday. Yes, it was a Wednesday. Yes, it was a chocolate day. Yes, and we are seeing now that they chere odo, actually yeho. Therefore, they chere uniso. Konkona say yenkaida. It means that it was not just a harsh Wednesday, but it's also going to be a Mwabu day. They be a befan say 40 bedu be a beye kaida yedebe kai of a Komakwachi. Na said the most said the yakano. Na otweda no ye number be boom. Na ye hwe say remember o man ye media working visitation. And na say mbehwa dwumedia ye di amanyofo a odo on sake cancel twerefo ene the cancer the didi tree election year mu tension. It mean you can cry and make a sasa now da be na weba. That was, I think, on a Tuesday. And I'm sure. Should I be that member? Also, then I'll check and get back to you. I did say, Anna. Just as I see you. Nice, I mean, I'm a nice council. I'm a bah. Now, you say of a command at the member. It's a in fact, then a buyer, you know. Now, I quite said, in Nana, I said, I saw your tea news, you know, I'm the two now. I said, just say, high kakra and Yebeka said Yamisha in Latin. Now Tridano on the 9th, said the Macano, and number the boom. Now if you saw Busiane 24 Mutrasena, be an outram a year dana. Yes, so as a GJ, as a parent body, then I better rally the media. She was a better rally the media and some trouble now. About the tie, a tree. Am I up offer a rich crab, a penny, of a fair. Now, Yes, so I cry so yes, so because he has paid his dues. For Kwame has paid his dues.
Wafa KK died last Wednesday, February 14th, at the University of Ghana Medical Center after a short illness.